All kinds of speculation right now over who President Obama will nominate to be the nation's top diplomat. As you know, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton is stepping down at the end of President Obama's first term. On the short list, UN Ambassador Susan Rice, as well as Massachusetts Senator John Kerry. Rice is making the rounds on Capitol Hill these days, meeting with lawmakers who've been critical of comments she made about the terror attack in Benghazi that killed 4 Americans. But those meetings did not go very well, or so it would seem from the comments we heard from the senators afterwards. Senator Kerry, meantime, seems to be taking a very different approach, staying out of the spotlight, even asking supporters not to overtly lobby on his behalf. So who's likely to get the job? Angela McGlowan is a Fox News political analyst. Marjorie Clifton, a former consultant to the Obama campaign and a principal with Clifton Consulting. Interesting here, Marjorie, is that if there are to be, let's say President Obama nominates Susan Rice, and she is said to be his first choice. The guy who leads the hearings on the Foreign Affairs Committee would be Senator Kerry.
Yeah, no, it is the irony of it all. But I will say, Kerry's strategy of staying under the radar probably is a good one. And the only thing that I think would be a barrier to Susan Rice's nomination would be this Benghazi coverage, which, you know, one could argue is pretty unfair given that all she did was read a unified statement by all of the national security entities. But you have to look at who she is and what this means for the good of the country. And I think that's why we have to sort of set politics and those issues aside. She brings a 21st century approach to foreign policy, and also one that isn't in step with President Obama. She also has a great deal of passion for human rights, for human dignity, and what John Kerry has passion for, nobody's really sure. He's kind of a, you know, vanilla guy. But, you know, I think she also understands issues of poverty and pandemics and how those play into national security and foreign policy.
Well, on the other hand, as Senator McCain says, John Kerry came within a whisker of being president of the United States, right. Angela. Senator McCain went on to say this. He said, "I'd love to hear him make his case. I don't have anything in his background like this tragedy in Benghazi that would make me really want to carefully examine the whole situation." That Benghazi thing is dogging Susan Rice.
It is dogging Susan Rice, and I think if Kerry were the nominee, he would have smooth sailing through, because in Washington, D.C., John, these guys are friends behind the scenes. And if Susan Rice is the nominee, we're going to have partisan politics all over again. You've even had the liberal mainstream media already bashing Republicans, some calling them racist and sexist, and the fact that they won't support Susan Rice is the fact that she's a black woman. And it's not about race. It's about Benghazi, and she went on the air and she lied, and now she's trying to backpedal, and it's not helping her case at all.
Well, but what I will say is that you had Condoleezza Rice, who was confirmed by the Senate 85-13. And what Democrats said, and this is at a time where she was under a lot of scrutiny for the war and bringing us into a war that they didn't feel, you know, we actually had reason to be there for.
But Marjorie, she didn't lie about anything, my dear. She didn't.
Well, let's be fair. What Susan Rice did was read a statement, and that was something that, frankly, if anything, fingers need to be pointed, would go to Hillary Clinton, because that security fell into her lap. That was not Susan Rice's responsibility at that time. So I think what we have to look at is...
Marjorie, in essence, Susan Rice was a good foot soldier for the administration. I admire her, Rhodes Scholar, and she is a very experienced lady. But going before the Senate for confirmation, you know it's going to be partisan politics. You know the race card is going to be played, and the female card is going to be played. The Black Caucus and the Women's Caucus, they're unready to protect her.
Well, but what we need to think about, I think, is what does this mean for the good of the country, though? And I think President Obama having someone in the same way that Democrats got behind Condoleezza Rice's nomination, saying, look, our president needs to have someone that they are in tune with and that is good for them in their cabinet. And if Susan Rice is that woman, then I think it should be. I will say on the woman thing, though, the funny thing is Madeleine Albright and Anne Marie Slaughter both talk about how their grandkids and their children didn't know that a man could actually be Secretary of State. And interestingly, Madeleine Albright was UN ambassador before she became Secretary of State. So there's something to that experience that I think
But the country, John, the country is already healing from the racial division that was used in this election. And I don't believe that we should have to go through it again, because that's what they're going to do. They're already starting. Al Sharpton's radio program, they did a whole segment on Susan Rice yesterday talking about white Republicans don't want this lady to be Secretary of State.
You know, talking about the last election, I want to throw this question at Marjorie first. We essentially heard from the Obama campaign that Mitt Romney wasn't qualified to become president because he's this, you know, rich white guy from Massachusetts worth hundreds of millions of dollars. I guess that disqualifies you from the presidency, but it's okay to make you Secretary of State, Marjorie?
Apparently. I don't know. I mean, that's why I find, I think John Kerry is qualified. But the question is, are they going to bring that passion? Are they going to bring that extra charisma that, frankly, is needed into the role? The funny thing is, Arnie Duncan apparently was also rumored to be nominated. He said it's more likely he'd become a stripper than Secretary of State.
John Huntsman's name has been thrown around as well.
Right.
John Huntsman.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I mean, but Susan Rice, again, I think that Obama is going to nominate her, and it's rumored that John Kerry might be Secretary of Defense.
Okay, we're going to leave it there, and we'll see. I mean, it's the president's choice to make. We'll see which choice he does make. Thank you both, Marjorie Clifton, Angela McGlowan.
Thank you.